the painting and buffing is complete and the paint job looks fantastic. But before we can return the car to its owner, there are a few more jobs that need to be done. Most body shops have a checklist. We'll begin by checking the operation of the seat belts and airbags. We'll check headlights and taillights, replace any bulbs that are not working, and aim the headlights. Then we'll check the operation of the wipers, washers, power windows, and door locks. We'll check the fit of the doors and make adjustments. Finally, we'll take a look inside a door and go through some common door repairs. The seat belt and shoulder harness systems are a safety feature mandated by law for every vehicle. Depending on the severity of the collision, this system may have sustained damage, so you should check it out. The seat belt and shoulder harness system is composed of the belts, upper and lower anchors, a retractor mechanism, and the seat belt latching mechanism. To begin, check the operation of the belts. Pull the belt across your lap and latch it. Give it a quick tug and see if the belt locks. Press the release button. The belt should release and retract easily. Test drive the vehicle at 5 to 15 miles per hour and apply the brakes quickly. The belts should lock. If anchors are bent or deformed, if the belt webbing is torn, cut, or frayed, or if the retractor or belt latch isn't working properly, replace the entire assembly. Don't try to repair it. Also, some seatbelt assemblies contain a gas cartridge that fires to pull belts tight when airbags are deployed. If the airbags have been deployed and the vehicle has this type of feature, make sure you replace the restraint system. To replace the seatbelt system, use a trim tool to remove dust covers and gain access to the restraint assembly. Unbolt the upper anchors, the lower anchors, and remove the belts and retractor mechanism. When installing the replacement system, be careful not to twist belts and to place replacement parts in the same position as the originals. Don't substitute any other fasteners. Use the originals or any replacement that comes with the new seatbelt assembly. The front seatbelt latch is usually bolted to the seat or to the floor. You may have to remove the seat for access to it. Replace the belt latch mechanism as part of the entire replacement assembly. Be sure to reattach the wires for the seatbelt warning system. Test the system in the same ways shown earlier to make sure everything is functioning correctly. This is important to assure protection for vehicle occupants. Another safety feature is the airbag restraint system. Airbags are designed to be deployed in front-end collisions, but they may not deploy in side or rear impacts. After any collision, whether the airbag's deployed or not, check to see that the system is operational. Turn on the ignition. A dash light indicates that the airbag system is performing a self-check. In a few moments, the airbag dash light should go off. If it doesn't, there's a problem with the system. Use an approved scan tool to find error codes indicating specific problems. Before servicing an airbag system, you must disarm it. That means disconnecting any power sources. Always disconnect the negative battery terminal. And some manufacturers recommend removing the fuse to the system as well. But be careful. Even these procedures may not completely disarm the system. Some airbag systems are equipped with a reserve power supply that'll deploy the airbags in the event of a vehicle power failure. Always refer to the vehicle's service manual for the exact procedures to disarm the system. There's no need to fear working with airbag systems, but treat them with respect. If you don't follow all the manufacturer's recommendations, serious injury can result. Before returning the vehicle to the owner, check the operation of all the lights. It's more efficient if you have a partner to help with this. Turn on parking lights and check to see that they're operational. Test headlights on low beam and high beam. While the headlights are on, check to see that the tail lights are operational. Check the emergency flashers, front and rear. Check the left and right turn signals, front and rear as well. Also check the operation of brake lights and backup lights. Replace any burned out bulbs. In most cases, you can reach inside the back of the assembly and remove the bulb with a twist. If you can't remove the bulb in this way, take out the entire headlight assembly by loosening and removing a few screws. See the vehicle service manual for screw locations. Headlight bulbs are secured by a retaining ring that can be removed with a slight twist. Then lift out the headlight bulb. Unplug the bulb assembly from the headlight wiring and replace it with the same type. When replacing a headlight bulb like this one, be careful not to touch it with your bare fingers. Oil from your skin can shorten bulb life. Place a new lamp into the headlight assembly and twist the retaining ring into place. If you have any difficulty removing or replacing a bulb, check the vehicle service manual for bulb replacement procedures. Now you need to check headlight aim and adjust it if needed. There are sophisticated laser headlight aiming systems available, but they're expensive and not all body shops have them. Here is an inexpensive but effective way to aim headlights. You'll need a wall next to a flat, level surface where the car can be parked 25 feet away from it. Pull the car up to the wall as close as possible. Use some masking tape to mark a vertical line on the wall corresponding to the center line of the car. Check to make sure that the center of the car is lined up with this mark. Pull the car straight back until the headlights are 25 feet from the wall. Next, on one of the headlights, find and mark the center point of the headlight bulb. Then, measure the distance from that center point to the ground. You'll also need to find the distance from the vehicle's center line to the center of the low beam. Now you're going to transfer these measurements to the wall, but first, subtract 2 inches from the headlight to ground measurement. Measure and place a horizontal line 26 inches from the floor and parallel to it. Place a vertical mark on each side of the horizontal line, the same distance as the headlight center point to vehicle centerline measurement. Dim the shop lights and turn on the low beam headlights. Cover one of the headlights and look at the wall. The left headlight beam should be centered or just slightly left of the vertical mark to the left of the center line. Use the headlight aiming adjustment that moves the headlight side to side to adjust the beam toward the left. The left headlight can actually be kept a little to the right of the aiming mark to avoid shining headlights into oncoming traffic. Once you've adjusted the first headlight, cover it and check the aim of the second. The right headlight is aimed too low and is off to the right. Use the side-to-side adjustment to move it to the left. Then use the up and down adjustment to move it up. On a single headlight system, there is no separate adjustment for the high beams. Typically, once the lower beams are properly aimed, the high beams fall within an acceptable range. If you try to adjust the high beams, it'll alter the aim of the low beams. Check the operation of the windshield wipers and spray washer, and the rear wiper and washer if the vehicle is equipped with one of these. Check the operation of any power side windows and door locks, and rear power window if the vehicle has one. Check the condition of the weather stripping around doors and windows to make sure it isn't damaged or hasn't separated from the door frame. Doors should easily latch and close tightly against weather stripping. They should be centered in the door opening with equal spacing side to side, top and bottom, and even with adjacent panels. If the doors are not centered or at a different height from adjacent panels, they must be adjusted. If it's a 4-door vehicle, begin by adjusting the rear door to the quarter panel. The quarter panel is welded or bonded in place and can't be moved. Then adjust the front door to the rear door and the front fender to the front door. We've removed the door on this vehicle so you can see the hinges. Door hinges may be adjusted on the door side or the hinge to body side, whichever is easier to access. Hinges can be moved in 6 directions: left, right, up or down, and in and out. You can insert a metal shim on one side of the hinge or the other to make adjustments in or out. This door is definitely out of alignment and needs to be adjusted. Use a door stand to support the door as you work on it. Begin by loosening the hinge bolts on both hinges just enough to permit movement. You can then use a pry bar tool to move the door into alignment. This tool can also be used to make minor door adjustments when hinges are welded instead of bolted. Once you've made your adjustments, tighten the hinge bolts slightly and check alignment. Never slam a door when you're making adjustments or you could damage trim or panels next to it. This door fits perfectly. Now you can finish tightening the hinge bolts. If you don't get perfect alignment the first time, repeat the adjustment and testing procedure until spacing is even side to side, top to bottom, and in and out. Then move to the next door or panel in the sequence. To allow free movement of the door during alignment testing, you may wish to remove the latch striker plate. Once you're satisfied with the hinge adjustments, you can replace the striker plate, but don't fully tighten the bolts. Test the alignment of the door latch and striking mechanism first. Move the striker plate as needed, up or down, left or right, or in or out. Once you're satisfied that the door latches correctly, tighten the striker screws. The door is an incredibly complex component of a vehicle. We've removed part of the outer skin of this door so you can better see the various interior components. Linkage rods connect the exterior and interior door handles and locks to the latching mechanism. The door also contains all the window components: channels that hold the window as it moves up and down, the window regulator, the mechanism for raising and lowering the window, and of course the window glass itself, a unit to power the window and lock, and an audio speaker. Sometimes the door will also contain system components for a rear view mirror, powered mirror defrosters, turn signals, and remote mirror adjustment controls. Undoubtedly, you'll be making repairs to one or more of these door components, so we're going to show you how to do a few of the more common ones. Let's begin by replacing an exterior door handle and lock cylinder. On this cutaway door handle, you can see that the exterior handle is attached with 2 bolts and a linkage rod. The rod is attached to the latching mechanism with a clip. The lock cylinder is separate from the handle. It contains an electrical connection for the power door locks and is attached to the door skin with a clip. To replace the exterior handle and lock cylinder, first install the lock cylinder by placing it through the hole in the door skin. Inside the door, you must snap the clip together to hold it in place and connect it to the power unit. Now put the exterior handle in place, threading the linkage through the latching mechanism. Tighten the 2 handle bolts from inside the door. Close the plastic clip on the linkage rod for the handle and lock. Your door handle and lock cylinder are now in place and working. Obviously, this is a little harder to do when you have to reach through access holes from inside the door, but you get the idea. Another common repair is to replace a window regulator arm. Let's see an example of how this is done in a car with power windows. To begin, disconnect the negative battery cable so you don't get a shock when you're working inside the door panel. To gain access to interior door parts, you must remove the interior trim panel. Begin by taking out any fasteners that hold trim pieces in place. There may also be some screws in the bottom of the panel. If you're unsure where all the fasteners are located, consult the vehicle's service manual. Next, use a forked trim tool to remove the plastic clips along the edge of the panel. These clips hold the trim panel in place. When you lift it off, disconnect any wires going to it. Remember where each plug is connected because you'll have to reconnect them in the same places later. Also, don't leave the wires connected to the trim panel during your repairs. This can put stress on electrical connections and cause shorts that you'll have to diagnose and fix later. Once the trim panel is disconnected from the electrical connections, there may be a few more pieces that must be removed before you can remove the dust and moisture barrier. In this case, the armrest is riveted to the inside door panel. 4 rivets must first be drilled out before the armrest can be removed. Next, remove the plastic or paper barrier, carefully threading the electrical connections through as you remove it. You'll want to reuse this dust and moisture barrier later. Now you have access to the various interior door components. Since we're going to be installing a new window regulator, the first thing we need to do is check the new part. Make sure you have the proper part before you unwrap it. Many parts are not returnable once the packaging is opened. Take a look at the new part to see where the fasteners are located and what kinds of fasteners are used. This will guide you in removing the old part. You may have to drill out old rivets as well as remove bolts that hold the regulator in place. Because you're working partly blind through access holes, this can be a time-consuming process. Once all the fasteners have been removed, slide the old regulator out through one of the access holes. Then, after making sure the part is oriented correctly, insert the new regulator. Slip the window glass into the top of the regulator. Then, replace the rivets that hold the glass in place. Next, line up the fastening points and bolt the regulator into place. This may take a little more time since it's difficult to see what you're doing. Use the same fasteners you removed. Since these are power windows, you're going to have to put the door back together, then reconnect the battery to test whether or not the new regulator works. Replace parts in the reverse order in which they were removed. Temporarily tape the dust and moisture barrier in place. Reconnect other parts that must be replaced, such as the armrest, before the trim panel goes back on. Reconnect all wires to the trim panel. Replace any plastic clips that were broken during the removal and check to make sure they're completely in the trim panel. Fit the panel over the top lip on the door and lower it into place. Make sure each clip is aligned with its respective hole in the door. Then use your hand to pop each clip into place. Finish reinstalling any other trim parts that were removed. Reconnect the negative battery terminal, then test the window. If you need to adjust the position of the glass slightly, there's often an adjustment screw or bolt to make such minor adjustments. Another common repair is to replace damaged exterior mirrors. Let's face it, these things stick out and they get caught on walls or other vehicles. Here's an outside mirror that needs replacement. Parts like this are usually replaced rather than repaired. In this car, it looks like we can remove a smaller access panel to gain access to the mirror fasteners rather than remove the entire trim panel. If you have trouble locating all the fasteners to remove the old part, examine the new part to find out where the fasteners are located. Remember, save the box until you're sure you have the right part. You can't return a part without the packaging it came in. Once you've determined where the fasteners are, remove them in the old part. Save the fasteners for use with the new part. Usually, they don't come with a new part. Unplug the electrical connections and remove the old part. Next, line up the fastener holes and install the new part. There are 4 fasteners on this mirror, 2 on the outside of the car and 2 that fasten from the inside. Turn the car on and test the power mirror. Success! Each job has its unique challenges, but as you gain experience, you'll find the best way to approach each one, although sometimes it might take more than one try. In this program, you'll learn how to check and replace a seatbelt and shoulder harness system, as well as disarm the vehicle's airbag system. You saw how to aim headlights and check and replace any exterior lights that are not working. You learned how to make adjustments to doors and windows so they all fit and work properly. Finally, you learned to do some common repairs like replacing a door handle, a window regulator, and an outside rear view mirror. Just a final word. Attention to detail and a thorough job. That's what keeps customers coming back. Take your time and do it right. And remember, it's the little things that count.